Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Asked and answered, January 30th. Jim Madorma from FT Lauderdale, FL. I know the NFL didn't recognize sack statistics until 1982, but is there any way for someone to be able to view films from those games to determine how many sacks LC Greenwood had in his career? Answer. Once upon a time, the Steelers did a research project on sack totals prior to 1982, and it revealed that LC Greenwood had 73.5 sacks, which still has him fifth on the franchise's all-time list in that category. Joe Green, with 66.0 sacks, ranks sixth on the franchise's all-time list. Green holds the franchise record for sacks in a game with 5.0, which came in Houston against the Oilers on December 10, 1972, and Greenwood's 4.5 against Cleveland on November 25, 1979, has him tied for second in franchise history with Chad Brown, who did it against the Bengals on October 13, 1996. Dan Cliff from North Chili, New York, going into the offseason with a team that clearly needs help along the defensive line and at wide receiver, as well as starters at running back and quarterback for next season, how do the Steelers stand with salary cap space? Answer. I cannot give you an exact number when it comes to salary cap space, and apparently neither can a couple of the websites that track such things across the NFL. Spotrac.com currently lists the Steelers as having $43.3 million in cap space. OvertHeCap.com lists the team as having $40.5 million in salary cap space, but having $37.3 million in effective cap space, which is the cap space a team will have after signing at least 51 players and its projected rookie class to its roster. Chris Lippett from Street Robert, Missouri, been reading all these articles about George Pickens and his maturity being an issue. Do you think it would help if he could talk to somebody like Larry Fitzgerald? I always thought it was so classy that after a touchdown Fitzgerald just handed the official the ball, no theatrics. Answer. Immaturity issues with wide receivers throughout the NFL go beyond simple touchdown celebrations, and I believe any positive development in that area has to come from within the individual player. Having someone talk to a player may end up working, but I think that only has a chance to work if the individual already has accepted the fact there is a problem and has decided to do something to correct it. Thomas Ward from Latson, South Carolina. Thank you for pointing out that Mark Andrews dropping the two-point conversion wasn't the real problem in the divisional round game between the Ravens and the Bills. Coach John Harbaugh's decision to go for a two-point conversion the first time he did in that game was totally off base. The score would have been 21-20 with the extra point. If Buffalo then scores a touchdown and kicks the extra point, it's an 8-point lead and not a 9-point lead. There was still a full quarter of football to be played. Why don't coaches throw out the analytics garbage and just use common sense and plain old math? Answer. I don't have the answer to that, and there is a growing faction within the NFL that has fallen in love with analytics at the expense of, to use your words, common sense and plain old math. I also found it surprising after Bills coach Sean McDermott saw firsthand how that strategy blew up in Harbaugh's face. He then did the exact same thing in the AFC Championship game lost the next week in Kansas City. Following the early breadcrumbs in Steelers' 7-round mock draft, the Steelers have already made some intentions clear for the upcoming draft. The offseason is in full swing for the Steelers, and all eyes are on the changes this team will make. From the coaching staff to free agents to the NFL draft, the focus is all about how this team can get better. For us draft fans, the Senior Bowl and Shrine Bowl have already started to yield some important breadcrumbs to follow. The Steelers have made some of their early intentions clear already. At the Senior Bowl specifically, we have seen the team show an insane amount of interest in the defensive line room while also keeping a keen eye on some mid-round running backs and upper-end receivers. As for cornerback, they have shown some interest in later-round guys, indicating that Dante Jackson could be returning to the fold. If the early signs mean anything, it looks like the defensive line will be the top draft pick, and if they look elsewhere, I would be shocked if the line isn't addressed on day 2. Pittsburgh never keeps their intentions that well hidden. This mock draft tries to follow the early breadcrumbs that the team has put down. The results? A little less than stellar. A defensive lineman that the Steelers didn't meet with at the Senior Bowl, because he is at the Shrine Game instead, Kenneth Grant could be a slam-dunk fit for this team. While his size makes him more of a nose tackle, he has the flexibility to play anywhere on the line. Despite his stout size, Grant is expected to test as a freak athlete. He has a hot motor when it is on, and as a run defender, he is as sturdy as they come. He needs to refine his skills as a pass rusher, and he disappeared at times on tape, but given his age, you are banking on developing his traits into a superstar. Initially, he should get snaps as the base nose tackle and allow Keanu Benton to shift to more of an end role. As Grant develops, he can hopefully develop more of an every-down role. There is a lot of projection and risk here, but the desire for a defensive lineman could leave Grant as the best name on the board. Walter Nolan and T.J. Sanders could make sense as your traditional base-end types, but neither improves the run defense. I like other options here, but Mike Tomlin chatting with Michigan's defensive line coach is an early tell of where their target may be. Patriots legend Julian Edelman takes major shot at Mike Tomlin, Steelers. For all the merit that Mike Tomlin has received having never coached the Pittsburgh Steelers to a losing season since he took over the headset in 2007, only one Super Bowl has come from it and the Steel City is getting restless with the ongoing methods. Tomlin is known for doing more with less, but that strategy hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. The Steelers lost their final 4 games of the regular season and were bounced in the wild card round for the 4th time in 5 years. Now, Tomlin, who was a Coach of the Year candidate earlier in the season, is being questioned by fans for his philosophies of management along with New England Patriots legend Julian Edelman. Edelman criticized Tomlin and the Steelers' defensive strategies for their failure to adapt, despite ongoing struggles. He highlighted how the Steelers' defense is stuck in outdated systems that have proven ineffective for years. "You knew exactly what they were doing," Edelman said when speaking about the Steelers' defense on his podcast Tuesday. "And they still do what they did. They still do the same god-s as when I was playing Mike Tomlin's defense. I'm like, we still have linebackers covering the 3 slot. Every time we play Steelers, I have at least 9 catches. You would think that they would change it, but no, they do what they do." Former Patriots defensive coordinator Matt Patricia was on the podcast with Edelman, agreeing that while the Steelers are well coached and their simple defensive approach allows players to play fast, it also limits their ability to evolve. Patricia acknowledged Pittsburgh's competitiveness but took a subtle jab, noting that his Patriots teams always found a way to beat them in key games, reflecting the mutual respect and rivalry between the two sides. There is some evidential truth to what Edelman and Patricia say. Despite a roster full of talent, the defense continues to struggle, repeatedly falling victim to the same weaknesses. The soft coverage scheme, where defenders play too far off receivers, has allowed opposing offenses to easily move the ball. And you fan? What do you think of the situation of Julian Edelman? Leave your opinion in the comments.